what is that contract up? Is it obviously the cost of fuel? Is there an adjustment in the clause, is there an adjustment clause?
It's coming up, I think, when I talked to Dave.
That's really gonna hit us hard, too,
Mhm.
obviously.
But like anything else, you know, you're negotiating a contract for a period of time, and you have a little bit of leverage too, so. Yes, energy is certainly gonna impact this coming year.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, so they're making a presentation to the board on the 2nd. Yeah, first meeting in June. Any other questions, comments regarding that?
Thanks for bringing it up.
Okay. Liaison assignments. I handed out a paper which represents what our assignments were last year, and under the column Delaney, that used to say Ardino. I haven't changed anything yet. Thought it was a good starting point. I did do a couple of things. Item 31 originally was the police building committee liaison. It was Joe and I just filled in financial planning team there, which is the job of the chairs and the vice chair. We just never had it on the official list. And then I added the financial advisory committee, this newly formed committee, as 48, and the energy conservation committee, which got started a little while ago, and Mike and Phil, so I've left those names accordingly. So what I thought I'd do is, we've given everyone the opportunity each year that I've been on the board at least to look at the assignments and see if you want to continue with the ones you have, or you want to make changes and see if we can come to some agreement and get this out to all of the various boards so they know who liaison is. In cases where there's a 2 next to it, then there's typically it's a board appointed individual or group, and one is the elected officials, and 3 is selectmen serves in the position. I'm not sure that's 100% accurate in a few places, and 4 is appointed by others in terms of the makeup of the committee. So, I know that Michael wants to continue on the energy conservation. You're still interfacing with Narissa, the Water Commission, the Elementary School Building Committee. I don't know how active that is at this point.
I haven't heard anything from them at all in the last 2 years.
Did they dissolve that, or no?
I think it's on hold.
They put it on hold,
Okay.
yeah.
It's still-
Recycling
Mm-hmm.
Council, the Cultural Council, the LUC, Ipswich Watershed, I'm sorry, yes, and the Historical Commission. So, are there any changes that,
No,
you're
I
happy
like-
with
I'm-
that?
I'm
Do you want
satisfied.
any more? Okay, and the chair is happy keeping the list that he has. By the way, on the Financial Advisory Committee, which is a new committee, I had told the committee that we would have a liaison and an alternate in case, just so there was good coverage. I am not necessarily need to be the main liaison. I'd like to stay close to it, but I really want to spend a lot of my energy this coming months on the wastewater, seeing if you can move it along.
I would like to take over as the liaison.
So, and by the way, we came to the agreement after talking to everybody that the Board of Selectmen, the school committee, and the finance committee, regardless of, who was there at a meeting, had one vote. So if the liaison and the alternate were there, they still only had one vote on the committee.
Do you, Mr. Misery, want to stay as the alternate?
Yeah, I think I'd
Okay,
like to
okay,
just
because if
stay
you didn't
close.
want to, I was going to volunteer to be the alternate. Okay,
So,
no, that's fine.
Anyone have any problem with Mr. Delaney picking that?
I think it's good, jump in
No,
both feet.
no problem at all. You'll be free.
Okay, So, Steve,
I couldn't be more happy, Mr. Chairman.
just with the list, okay. And Mr. Vino?
I'm very pleased with everything I have.
Okay, and therefore, Mr. Delaney, is there anything here that you have a problem?
Very happy.
Very happy. Okay, then it'll stand this way as handed out with one addition, and that's Mr. Delaney as the primary on the Financial Advisory Committee. Get that? I'll update the list and send it out. And Bob, if you need a copy of this, you can have this copy. Okay, that was easy. We've already discussed the little school parking and traffic issues, so we're on to the town administrator's report, which was 15 pages thick.
Yeah, well, most of it's backup material, just your information, and I'll try to go through this quickly. The first item that's on my list is not something that I've noted, but I was reminded to bring it to the board, and that's just an acknowledgement that Selectman Vino has been appointed as the North Reading representative to the Mystic Valley Elder Services. It's an appointment that's done through the Council on Aging, and I wanted to, again, acknowledge the fact that he's assumed that position.
Thank you. Thank you.
Going to the gold copy, just a note on state aid. For fiscal 2009, we received the Senate Ways and Means budget amounts. They are identical, 99% identical to the revenue figures that we had presented in April. The one exception being a slight underfunding in state-owned land, which is shown on the backup sheets that you do have here. And the amounts are consistent with what had been conveyed to us prior to the April town meeting. So we do not anticipate any changes, as there's always the caveat that they put in that it's subject to the legislative process.
Doing it Wednesday and Thursday.
And in the legislative process, anything is possible. So we'll hope that it stays the same. And we get our couple of extra dollars on state-owned land that the town is deserving of. Sticking with the revenue and the budget, we've been carefully monitoring the fiscal 2008 revenues. We've noticed throughout the state that there's been a trend for some of the revenues to be softening. In particular, the Department of Revenue had notified all cities and towns that there was a downward trend in motor vehicle excise tax collections for the current fiscal year. The town has traditionally been conservative in budgeting this amount, and the good news is, as of this date, the revenues in that account exceed the budgeted amount by $27,784, and that's really good news.
Yeah, but
because
that's for,
motor vehicle excise
that's for the
this year.
current fiscal.
Correct. Other collections are on target. You have a summary of, the first sheet shows revenues as of March 31st, 2008. And the second sheet that looks identical, it says Town of North Reading estimated receipt analysis, is for the same period a year ago. And in terms of comparison, the numbers that you really want to look at, if you look at the column that says FY 2008 actual, March 31st, 2008, the important number is the $3,475,227.22. And if you flip the next page, you'll see that as of a year ago, we had collected $3,309,482.46. We're about, despite the softening economy, we're about $166,000 above where we were at the same point in time last year. And this excludes the one-time monies that we received in the Berry Center a year ago, and the one-time monies that we received in the Berry Center this year through the density bonus payment, because those unfairly skew our comparisons. So we are doing well. There is one exception, and the one exception is the municipal Medicaid account, which is shown here on both of the sheets. Just before that number that I had referenced. As of the March report, we had collected about 23%. We've also been informed that new federal rules have been enacted, which jeopardize not only what we hope to anticipate collecting this year, but also the $50,000 that we had built into the fiscal 2009 budget. None of which is good news, but due to strong collections for this year, we'll be okay. For next year, we will have to look at that to together with the carry forward on the snow and ice deficit, $215,000, and that's the actual amount that we will have to raise. And a projected shortfall in the fuel and utilities account of an unknown amount. As you will recall in the budget process that we established, we had put forth a very modest increase in fuel and utilities of 3%. And even in that short period of time, it was proven that those assumptions were very inaccurate. The good news, again, is that we have gone and looked at our fuel accounts for this year, and they do look okay. So we will be able to get through this year without
Yeah,
any
but
transfers.
most of those reflect contracts that we entered into
Contracts have been stable.
a while ago.
So, in terms of any transfers, budget transfers, all of the 3% transfers year-end will be moving their way forward. There's one item that we're aware of, which is an insurance claim of about $100,000. That is the only 3% transfer that I'm aware of right now. Those will be gathered together and presented to the board and explained at the meeting on June 2nd. So we'll put in that documentation.
And the last opportunity would be June 16th, unless we
Right.
schedule another meeting.
Excuse me, I'm doing a side-by-side here
Sure.
between last year's and this year's actual collections. And, it's the miscellaneous non-recurring that's really bailing us out substantially here, to the tune of $118,000 over last year's.
Right.
What was the non-recurring? What would that?
Steve, I wouldn't know the detail of what that
Okay,
was.
I mean, that's the, the excise tax is less than what it was last year.
Right.
But ahead of our projections. Is that what you're saying?
This number that's shown here was as of March 31st. What I did do was I felt that it was inaccurate because the excise tax commitment doesn't go out until February. So what I did was I got an up-to-date number as of today. And the updated number as of today indicates that there's not a shortfall. We're actually to the positive $27,000. But that's not reflected in this report.
Of course, the bulk of the excise is pretty much been billed at this point,
Right.
for the year.
But that number, that $27,000 surplus is not reflected in this report. Because this report was as of March 31st. And if I looked at this report, I would be alarmed.
No,